For this video, let's try to learn how to solve a literal equation. A literal equation is just a type of equation with multiple variables in it. For example, we have the formula, force, the distance, which is d is equal to speed times the time. There are three variables in that equation. That's a literal equation. Another example could be the area of a rectangle, which is area, A, is equal to length times width. There are three variables in it. Do you have an example of your own literal equation? Please let me know in the comment section. Now, how do we solve a literal equation? Alright, there's one thing that you should bear in mind before solving for a literal equation, and that is knowing what variable are you going to solve. Remember that in a literal equation, there are multiple variables, so knowing what variable to solve is important. Now, the idea of solving a literal equation is that whatever variable you're solving for, all you have to do is isolate that variable on one side, preferably on the left side, but it can be on the right side. So as long as you can isolate the variable that you're solving for in one side and put all other things on the other side, then you have solved your literal equation. All right, let's look at our first example. So we have this problem. We're going to solve for h in this literal equation. A equals 1/2 base times height. This is, by the way, the area of a triangle. All right, your step number one here is you should know what variable you're solving for, and that is the variable h. Now, if you're solving for h, it means that we need to isolate h by itself on one side. It can be on the left or right side, as long as it's by itself in one side. So here, as I see, my h is in the right side, so I want my h be alone here, and I want to remove 1/2 and b. Now, we just need to undo the operation. For example, b, this is 1/2 times b. So I can get rid of my b by dividing, because this is multiplication. The opposite of multiplication is division. So I can divide b. If you do it on one side, you have to do it on the other side too, so that b will be removed, right? So you have a over b is equal to 1/2 h. Now, I need to remove my 1/2 also. So to remove a fraction, all you have to do is multiply by the reciprocal. Reciprocal means if you have to flip the top and bottom. So 1/2, just flip it, so it becomes 2 over 1, or just 2. So multiply by the reciprocal of the one side, and you should do it on the other side too. All right. So if you do that, this 1/2 and 2, this will be crossed out, and so on the right side, what is left is just h. And that's equal to, on the other side, you have 2 times a over b. So 2a over b. So now I have solved my literal equation. All right, let's take a look at this, another example. So we have h plus b equals j. Now remember, step one is to know what variable you're solving for. And I want to solve for b, so I want my b in here on one side. So this h, I want that h to go to the other side. Remember, in the previous lesson, we can do transposition. That's a positive h. If you move it to the other side, that becomes a negative. So if I move this, so b will be by itself in here, and then my j is just, it should be there. I'll just bring it down, and then this positive h will become a negative h. So my b is now isolated, and I have solved the literal equation. All right, let's take a look at another equation. So we have hb equals 5, and we're going to solve for b. All right, now this time, this is multiplication. The operation here is multiplication. Remember, we can find b if we perform the opposite of multiplication. So we just divide h to both sides. All right, and so that will be crossed out. So what is b? That's 5 over h. That's our answer. All right, in this problem, we're going to solve for h for this equation. Now, I see my h in here, so that means I only need to remove this part here, which is in parentheses. I need to remove this whole group. Now, what operation exists between h and this group? And that's, the answer is multiplication. So, the opposite of multiplication is division. That means I'll just divide this right side by whatever I need to remove, which is m plus r, and I should do it to both sides, m plus r. All right, and if I do that, so m plus r will be canceled on the right side, so I only have h on the right, which is equal to letter t over m plus r. Okay, so now I have isolated my h. All right, for this problem, we're going to solve for b in this equation. So I can see my b in here. So I want it to be by itself in this side. Therefore, I need to get rid of this f minus h squared. But I know that the operation here is division. See, it's division. So the opposite of division is multiplication. Therefore, I'll just multiply this left side by f minus h squared because I want to remove f minus h squared. And I have to do it to both sides, f minus h squared. Okay, again, I multiply by f minus h squared because that's the opposite of this division. And if I do that, this will be crossed out. So I have on my left side, I have my b is equal to r f minus h squared. Now you can do the distribution, or you can just let it be. But if you do the distribution, because to remove the parentheses, remember in the previous lesson, to remove the parentheses, you just do the distribution. So what is b equal to? You have your r, capital F, that's the first pair, and then the second is minus another r, and then h squared. So that's your b. All right, in this problem, we're going to solve for x. This is our equation, 12x minus 15y equals 3. So that means I only want my x in here. All right, so what I can do first, I don't want my 12 and 15y. What I can do first is move this 15y to the other side. Do the transposition. So my 12x will be left here, which is equal to, I can start with the y. This positive 15 will become negative because I will move it to the other side. Remember that rule? So negative 15y, and then my 3 is, I am not going to move my 3, just bring it down, plus 3. All right, next, I only want my x here, so this is by dividing 12, I'm going to get rid of the 12, and I have to do it every single number here, every single number here. All right, so this part here will be crossed out. So what is x? Now, if you use your Desmos scientific calculator, just put this in your Desmos scientific calculator without the y, just the negative 15 over 12, and it will give you the lowest term, which is negative 5 over 4, and then attach the y. And then 3 over 12 also, the Desmos scientific can help you simplify that, and that's equal to a positive 1/4. All right, so my x is equal to that expression, negative 5/4 y plus 1/4. All right, let's do this last problem. In here, in this equation, we're going to solve for y. All right, I only want my y in this side. So I don't want my x here because I want to move this 6x to the other side. So if I do that, my negative 2y will be left here is equal to that positive 6x. If you move it to the other side, that becomes a negative 6x, right? And then my positive 8 will remain here. So same sign, plus 8. Now I only want my y, so I get rid of that negative 2 by division, and then do it for every single number on the other side. Now if I do that, negative 2 will be crossed out here, so my y will be left in the left, and then just simplify the numbers. Negative 6 divided by negative 2, that's positive 3, and then don't forget there's an x, and then 8 divided by negative 2 is negative 4. So I have solved my y, because it says solve for y.